He's fully famous in Russia. Like I
noticed that because I started following some people from your podcast. I was like, oh damn, this guy's popular.
Yeah. And so he's like super famous in Russia. Mm-hmm. Like he basically what happened is he finished studying ancient Greek at uni, had no idea what he wanted to do, moved to Russia and just started tutoring like rich Russian kids. Didn't really love that, so did a bunch of other jobs, but kept doing stand-up comedy, English comedy nights, got scouted to go on TV, went on TV, won second place in the Russian version of Star Search, and then just toured doing stand-up comedy in Russia, making a pretty good income for several years.
What a life.
Just like being one of the most famous stand-up comedians in Russia.
Damn, he's like the Gabriel Iglesias of the East.
Effectively, yeah. He was called Pindos, which means the American, which is funny because he's British.
There are things we know, but there are also the ones we don't know.
You deserve the truth.
So, Jack, what are UFOs?
Well, a UFO is something that you see in the sky and you don't know what it is.
So, like, certain birds that I've seen that I don't know, is that a raptor? Is that an osprey?
Well, no, that's identified because you know it's a bird. But if you saw something up there you didn't know, then it would be unidentified. And if it were flying, then it would be a UFO.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so
what
the hell was
I
that?
thought you were going to have more of a thing going.
The point of asking that question is more, are UFOs exclusively things that we think come from outside, outer space, extraterrestrial whatnots and such?
Well, no.
The answer is flat out no.
Yeah. Like UFOs are objectively real, and we know that there are things that fly around and we don't know what they are.
Well, that's like the CIA website said 57% of Americans believe in UFOs, and I'm like, that's like saying 57% of Americans believe in Christianity. Like, there's believing and there's believing.
Well, there's nothing to believe.
Like,
they're real.
All Americans believe in UFOs, hopefully.
Anyone who's ever worked at a radar station has seen UFOs.
How do you think Jesus got out of the cave? Come on. Jesus was a gray. Read
that's how he
the Old
ascended.
Testament.
Wow. It was with the tractor beam. Although back then they only had scythes, so it's a scythe beam.
Yeah, it was the hand plow beam.
Yeah, it was a wooden plow with no plowshare.
Yeah, that's exactly it. No, it's cool. Most ancient religions actually basically are founded on UFOs. People with they say UFOs built the pyramids. Still use slaves though, because all flying saucer people are very cruel. The Greys came down and told the ancient Egyptians how to do it. They told the Irish how to do it, which we've forgotten because we're racist against the Irish. And then they've been involved in more or less every cultural movement that's been of significance ever since. They were involved in early Christianity. They were involved in like early Islam. They were involved in the emo thing. And they were also involved in hipster runoff. They did all of that stuff. It was very important.
Neutral Milk Hotel's first album was done by the Greys.
That's right.
It must be because it's incomprehensible nonsense.
Well,
yeah. I'm so hip I don't like Neutral Milk Hotel.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
you don't have to be hip to not like Neutral Milk Hotel.
So what I'm talking about today, my main source is a write-up from the CIA website, and it is by Gerald Haynes. And what I have at the very top of my notes is that it was released in 1993 because of nerd pressure.
Sorry, nerd pressure?
That's a very powerful type of pressure.
Yes, nerd pressure. Basically, MUFON and NICAP were, FOIA-ing it up, and that's where we get this from.
Tight.
So, are you familiar with the sudden uptick of UFO sightings immediately after World War II?
Yes.
That's the whole, 1950s, 1960s, and so on. Everyone's just like, oh, suddenly aliens are fucking everywhere.
Suddenly aliens, yeah. So the first big cluster of sightings would have been around, 1948. Actually, there were a lot of sightings during World War II by Allied soldiers seeing what they called Foo Fighters.
Yeah, these the bomber groups over Germany were seeing, ball lightning and St. Elmo's fire on the wings of their vehicles.
Just
is that what that's
Yeah,
from?
I didn't know that band was so popular back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dave Grohls were just flying over Europe, and
I think it's fucked up that we used Operation Paperclip to get those guys over here, but look, I mean, music is pretty good, so I think it was worth it.
Pounding pots of coffee, playing drums.
his real name is
invading from
Dietrich
space.
Grunwald.
That's Freischen Potten.
It was Dave Grohl and I just don't know anything about guitar music. Yeah, goddamn. That's these are names that do.
That's a
coming
new
up.
level of hip, though.
That
Yeah,
does
that is pretty
explain why the band actually has so many UFO things in like their imagery and marketing. That now makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because like the stadium rock in the 2000s was, as Riley mentioned, sounded by the Greys.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Mind control.
Now, here, I don't know if you're going to get into this at some point, but my understanding of what a lot of these alien revelations were at this point post-war was from as all a sort of lefty annoying lefty white dudes online is from an Adam Curtis documentary.
Yes.
Where so
Guilty.
my understanding of this is based on what they did was they basically leaked documents that said the U.S. Air Force leaked documents that said that they had captured aliens in New Mexico and stuff to basically cover the fact that they were just testing new ways to obliterate civilians.
I can neither confirm nor deny, but that sounds about right. And all this makes a lot more sense when you realize this was directly after World War II, and most of these sightings happened in the Southwest, which is where all of the skunk works and spooky Air Force stuff is.
Yeah, spooky.
There's some ridiculous figure about the Air Force owning a seventh of Nevada.
Yeah, they own double-digit percentages of 4 states.
Like Utah, yeah.
Sorry, if you're going to talk about institutions that own double-digit percentages of the country, remember who you're talking to here. One of the 38 colleges where I went to university is the third largest landlord in the UK.
Oh, hell yeah.
What?
Well, in all fairness, it's not a whole lot
Do they
of
test
land.
missiles on it then?
Oh my God.
Are they testing new guided artillery shells?
Yeah,
with
are they just
white phosphorus and stuff?
No, I think
launching
it's
tow missiles?
It's the first is the royal family, the second is the Anglican Church, and the third is Trinity College, Oxford.
Damn.
Wonderful.
And
What about
none
Trinity
of them, none of them
College
has
Dublin?
an arms program.
Trinity College Dublin, I mean,
What percent of Ireland do they own?
Trinity
All of
College
it.
Dublin, I think is pretty Protestant. So
So a
probably
lot.
quite a bit.
Quite. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
getting Protestant in here.
Yeah.
Checking
no
out
good.
The number of serfs on the balance sheet.
yeah,
It's
no bueno.
Pretty high.
Yeah. So if we're talking about landlords who own a bunch of the place that you live and they use it for a bunch of dumb shit, then we are talking to an expert right now.
Okay.
But I will say the percentage of land that's available to be owned in England compared to the American Southwest.
Which you can't live in because I have this on good authority. It's a desert.
I have
whole
been there.
thing.
It's a desert.
I checked on
I
this.
think you're right on
Yeah.
that one.
Yep.
I've heard of
People are
that.
actually just skiing down sand slopes.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Saudi Arabian ski resort where you it's a dune.
You can't get out of your car for very long in Arizona, otherwise the tremor worms will come and eat you.
Yeah.
Well, the sun will kill you.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it
always
will.
true, though.
It's just,
pretty cool.
that's just stressful for me to think about. Is that there's a place that's just too hot for you to be?
Let me
I don't
put on
want
my
to
still
fucking go
suit. I
there.
gotta go to the liquor store.
Yeah, I don't want to be a fucking Fremen. I like the fact that I can go out, I can walk to the shops, I can come back, and I'll have absorbed my day's requirements of water just by being outside.
Well, the thing is that you're on the Atreides home planet where it's just raining all the
Right.
time and
Well,
surrounded
and
by water.
what you mean you don't like the fact that here you can go out to your mailbox and feel like you have to take a shower after?
No, I don't like that at all. I
Not
don't
good.
care for that
So
one bit.
speaking of things that
Yes,
make you want
sorry.
to take a shower, so Project Sign was started in 1948. It was by General Nathan Twining, and it was supposed to be investigating UFOs as a national security problem. So they were collecting and evaluating information. It was based out of Dayton, Ohio, which I don't know why. I think that's funny.
I mean, it is.
That's right.
There's an Air Force research lab there.
There is.
Right
But I was
field is there,
expecting
but-
somewhere
It is
spookier.
still fucking funny.
Actually,
That's
Dayton's
like the
kind of
lamest
spooky.
place for a secret project. Because Wright Patterson is there and all that. But like, come on.
Come on. Think about how useful it is to guys from Ohio that they can say to people that they can that they're working at that secret base. And
Yeah, that provides
and yeah.
half the jobs in the state.
their cover is that they're the receptionist at a tattoo parlor, but actually,
Kielbasa salesman.
Yeah, I'm a kielbasa salesman. I'm a receptionist at a tattoo parlor. I'm an unemployed T-shirt designer. My main thing is now I'm actually.
Yeah.
Oh God, I heard about this. I heard of someone I knew. I got talked their ear off about someone who had a protein energy drink. Someone was trying to get them to invest in it, and I was like, yeah, fine. That would be an Ohio person who would say then, like, if that didn't work, that they worked at the Defense Research Lab researching aliens. It's great. Dayton needs this.
Yeah, keep Dayton up and running. So, like most things that the government does, they concluded at the end that absolutely nothing abnormal was going on, and that it was really just mass hysteria and hallucinations. So that book's closed.
That sounds
Dusting
very
my
neat and
hands
tidy.
off.
That's
Yeah.
very
Dusting my
common.
hands
Dirt
off
off the shoulder,
theatrically.
folks.
Although it's funny because the original name, they quickly changed it with Saucer. I think they wanted something less suspicious.
Oh, where do you work? Are you on the new missile program? No, I don't like Germans. I'm on Saucer. What's Saucer? Well, it's not about aliens.
It's an incredibly well-funded government research lab all about dishes specifically used for tea and milk.
And hot sauces.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
they are the
You
saucer
sauce out of
division.
sauce. Oh.
I'm in marinades, but my friend Jeff, he's in
He's in saucer.
Well, no, they knew the hot sauce challenge was coming in 70 years, and they were like, we need to be ready.
If anything, this is proof of time control. More
Well,
than
it's part of the
That's right.
cultural Cold War. They had to be at the cutting edge of YouTube comedy shows.
Yep.
Yeah, we cannot allow a Scoville gap.
How do we keep the South from trying to secede again? Well, what if we gave every state its own barbecue sauce, and then they fought over that instead of coming together?
Oh,
was a
yeah, you
cultural
guys
press
have that,
minorities.
don't you?
Yeah,
it's a thing.
What,
That's-
hot sauce?
hot sauce.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
the
or-
barbecue
well,
sauces.
Yeah, like
States-
every state in the South has a
Oh,
different.
Mustard
yeah,
sauce, vinegar
in
sauce.
states.
Yeah.
Barbecue sauce.
Actually, no, Ohio and Indiana almost went to war against each other in like the 1800s.
Hell
That's
yeah.
another story.
That would be a war for the ages. Can you imagine?
Yeah, like
bunch of
3
bald
people
guys with
fighting
their
each
hats
other.
backwards,
They were
No,
ready. They were. I think there
vaping
was a
and
skirmish
beating each other's
actually.
asses.
Yeah,
They
it
were
would be
so ready to kill each other.
two armies marching up against one another with like musket columns or whatever, where each person in each column is holding each other person back.
Oh, dude, don't do it. Don't do it, bro.
So,
right.
Project Sign was followed by Project Grudge because apparently they were trying to make this sound more nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided, since we've decided that UFOs are totally not real and are just mass hysteria, we're going to alleviate some public anxiety.
Bye.
This involved explaining UFOs as balloons, planets, optical illusions, and, quote, large hailstones.
Hi, sorry, quick question. Riley from Trash Future. Planets? You're like, oh no, that's just a planet.
It's just a planet. You know the planets that sort of fly around in the sky and do a
yeah,
barrel roll?
those.
Yeah,
The
I was
lo-
abducted by a planet.
Yeah, those low-flying planets that you see.
They just
on
zoom
a-
by.
I
They're so
remember.
loud.
I remember
it's a
when
nuisance.
Jupiter did a flyby of Earth. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Don't you
That's
just
pretty rad,
fucking
yeah.
hate it when Jupiter comes by and it just totally interrupts
And right
your
on the
day
flight
plans?
path of
Fucks up the
Saturn,
whole
it's such a
solar
pain.
system.
I was gonna go
My
climb that
fucking
mountain,
zodiac
but
sign
Jupiter's
has-
too close.
So are you doing an impression of the Stamps.com ad? Don't you hate it when Jupiter comes flying by your house?
Oh god, it's gotten into my brain. The content is eating away at my cortexes.
Yes,
So-
be on Twitter more.
No one mentioned the giant
People's,
hailstones.
So,
Giant
like,
hailstones, despite the fact that most of these sightings are in the southwest, where there's very little precipitation, especially cold precipitation.
No, it hails all the time. Totally hails
Yeah.
all the time in the desert.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you gaslighting me? Are you?
well, no, it's a gas bubble. It's swamp gas, Abby. It's not a
Oh.
UFO.
Oh
Stop.
yeah, you
it's
know.
just,
I'm looking at it.
It's just some
willows.
swamp gas trapped in a weather balloon. You know.
yeah.
Just, yeah.
We're gonna need that tape.
It's also a
Abby.
planet. The weather balloon's
It's
also,
also a planet. Yeah,
It's-
Mercury
it's-
was
it's-
there.
It's swamp gas trapped in a weather balloon, and you mass hallucinated them both. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean
There weren't
clearly.
bodies. They were anthropomorphic dummies.
Now, this did not last either because they folded the project in 1949 because they noticed that its existence was just so suspicious, just being like, this is an entire project on educating people on the things that don't exist.
Oh yeah, this entire thing really just seems like a conceptual 3 kids in a trench coat. Just like, what are you doing here?
So they figured that out.
So far, let's keep track of what we've said. We're the government. We've said that UFOs are real. We don't know what they are. We think that they're a German weapon. We've said that UFOs are real. We think that they're saucers. And now we're saying that UFOs aren't real. You're not seeing anything at all. They're actually identified.
And we have a whole project centered around the thing that doesn't exist and telling you about how it doesn't exist.
A long-running military intelligence program about stuff that isn't real, which, I have that for ghosts, too.
It is so funny that, like, they spent 40, 50 years trying to do this by, like, subtly convincing people, like, slipping documents to people who would, like, promote them on conspiracy sites or whatever. And all they had to do was just say, like, baristas from New York think that UFOs are real and that you're stupid for not believing in them or whatever. And they could have just got every single person.
Hey, you should work for the state.
You really should.
You've really got the brain juice going.
I was in a hipster coffee shop and I heard these triggered millennials talking about how UFOs are real, how they believe in them.
All they'd have to do is turn this shit into a culture war thing, and it would have been...
The Economist would run an article on it.
Yeah, and whoever they wanted to believe it would have believed it in lockstep.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the Summer of Madness.
Hell, is this like the Summer of Love, but better?
No, it's the Summer of Love, but there's no love. It's the early 1950s, and people are seeing things in the sky.
Was it the summer?
That sounds better.
It was, in fact, no. Actually, it was late May.
Okay, so this is a real Monster Island situation where it's a peninsula.
Yeah, no, it's a peninsula.
Like any revolution in Russia, it's always off by a month.
So, it's called Midsummer Madness because I remember thinking that it sounded like they took their inspiration from a JCPenney sale.
Yeah, or it was just promotional for the film.
So by this point, in the early 1950s, the intelligence community started to lose interest because it had been like 6 years. They didn't think these were Soviet. It was sort of freaking them out. It was freaking other people out. There was another big cluster of sightings in the early 50s. The Air Force could have cared less. But the CIA said, quote, "Since there is a remote possibility that they may be interplanetary aircraft, it is necessary to investigate each sighting."
Yeah, that's a make-work project by the Union.
It's nephew stuff.
By the fucking intelligence agency Union. They were like, nah, Union rules. We got to investigate each one.
Every single case. You get out your clipboard, you get your coffee, you're in Dayton, Ohio.
Can you imagine a CIA shop steward? Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Awesome. Can you imagine a CIA veto spatafor just going in there, sitting on a folding chair, eating a gigantic sandwich while some actual CIA agents like extraordinarily
just looking at his watch.
I don't know.
It's like, okay, boys, lunch break. Put the shovel down. He's done.
I think it's a cover. I think it's a fantastic way to get everyone to forget about their Third Amendment rights. About the government just can't really come into your home unless they have a warrant. It's like, no, we're here to look for aliens. Oh, there are aliens nearby?
Well, they go into your drawer, and they're like, there's not an alien in here? Then they take stuff out of your bookcase, and like, I don't see any aliens in here. Yeah, and then they turn over your couch and cut it open.
It's a well-known fact.
We're going to go into your basement and try and dig a tunnel into the Russian embassy.
Oh, yeah.
This is exclusively for aliens. We think they're around here.
Yeah, it means you have probable cause all the time. It's like, I heard that aliens are actually attracted to people who like civil rights for black people, so we have to search your house.
Yeah, it's for your own good.
We see that telephone. Bring it here.
Yeah,
that brings us...
When Martin Luther King said he had a dream, he was talking about the Greys.
I had a sleep paralysis dream.
That one day, all God's
little gray children and little white children could hold hands together.
Little gray children,
and be judged by the contents of their character and not their planetary origin.
No, the content of their eggs, not the color of their skin. So this brings us to the Truman Incident in 1952. So in 19th and 20th of July 1952, Andrews Air Force Base right by DC saw a bunch of strange blips on their radar. This happened twice. It was quiet for a week, and then they showed up again.
Ooh.
So This quickly attracted the attention of the media, and actually Truman asked for it to be investigated.
Huh.
Also, a pilot reported seeing a giant orange orb. This was later brushed off as being a bright star, despite there not being any bright stars that night, and this is a city.
Yeah, you can't see anything in DC.
No, you can't. The sky is just the color of pea soup all the time.
Yeah, in DC, the sky is dark because all the stars are in the Capitol steps.
Cut his mic.
That's it. You're out
Our
of here.
first case of podcasting jail.
I'm sorry. We shouldn't.
So
do this
yeah,
after
some
all.
captains of planes at Andrews mentioned seeing what they described as falling stars without tails. There was a buildup of sightings. It made headlines, and I like how people talk about how hyped the media is now, because we got headlines like "Jets chase sky ghosts."
Hell yeah, that's a good name for like a prog metal band.
Because they did
Yeah.
actually get some planes out of Delaware from their base to come chase the aliens, but by the time they got there were no more sightings.
Ah, shit. Yeah, it sucks. Now you only scramble. They only scramble jets to like somehow replace the National Health Service in the UK.
Yeah, so they can bomb more islands.
No, they literally are scrambling jets to replace the National Health Service. They're like, in honor of the London NHS workers, we have scrambled the RAF.
Okay,
Right.
we did a
Were they
similar
dropping
thing. We had the
penicillin on
Blue
people?
Angels go by, so
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
we
yeah.
did do
Oh
a
my
similar
God.
thing.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
what-
hear them.
That's what jets are all for now. They don't even like, at least chasing a made up UFO makes sense. Like conceptually, like if you were gonna chase a UFO, if it was real, you'd scramble some jets. But like,
It's also incredibly cool, and if they want to do that more, they should raise my taxes, and that's okay.
yeah, if you're like, if I will happily pay for jet fuel if you're gonna scramble them to chase UFOs. But if you're scrambling them because you're like, oh, we don't have any hospitals because we haven't had any public services for the last 40 years. Quickly, so the only thing we're able left to do as a society is
Scramble the jets.
The
scramble
jets were driven
jets.
by Margaret Thatcher's corpse.
Yeah,
Her
we're
cold,
gonna-
dead hands gripped the controls.
Do you see that like the UK went massively? I'm sorry to keep distracting you from this. You see the UK went massively overboard in the scramble the jets approach to public services 2 weeks ago, where they were like, we're gonna have 10 ferries do donuts in the Thames to
What?
honor our health
What?
workers.
Like the
I feel so honored
But
when I
also-
see public services doing
Wait,
donuts
so they
all over.
actually scrambled the ferries?
That's right. That's
Holy
right.
shit.
Wow.
Somewhere a
Scrambled
Nickelodeon
everything.
writer is losing his mind.
I'm imagining the Staten
Oh, we
Island
live in
ferry
hell.
being
Arnold
scrambled.
Schwarzenegger's dream has come true.
I mean,
this-
I guess
that-
no one's going to France right now, so you know you can
Scramble
move
the
those things
ferries.
anywhere.
The Staten Island ferry just drifting all
Just
the way.
drifting while some guy just yells in Italian on it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I
So
heard
it's like
they,
Get a bunch
they
of tire
scrambled the
smoke.
channel
coming up.
train too. They've got the channel train running back and forth 24/7.
okay.
The blue
and
flag
here's-
on it.
On the real, they actually do. They actually do have that still happening. Is the channel train is still going, but all the ferries are scrambled
Well,
to
it's like
drift.
all those airlines that are still running empty planes for reasons.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that's what we've been doing in the UK is instead of scrambling planes to like chase after an alien spacecraft that we, I don't know, hallucinated or made up, or maybe is real.
It's also hail.
Yeah, or hail, or is swamp gas, or a mass hallucination, or whatever. We're scrambling the jets to fight 40 years of private sector takeover of public sector services.
Well, just you wait until they privatize those
Wonderful.
jets, then it's done for.
I mean,
that's
wait
right.
until they privatize UFOs.
Yeah, that's
Oh, I
right.
thought you were going to say, wait till
Well,
they privatize you.
that's
And it's
later in
like,
the
well, this
episode.
Riley is now owned by Raytheon.
That's right. I'm Raytheon.
Oh my
That's me
God.
now.
Actually,
Okay,
it is
so
funny that you say that,
at the end of
JD.
this whole debacle in 52, it's mentioned on the CIA site, so this is from the mouth of the beast, that many of the pilots were persuaded to say that they saw stars.
How did we persuade them with one-way mirrors and LSD?
You
They
see,
got
the
seventh
U.S.
graders
Weather
to write
Bureau
essays.
suddenly came out of the woodwork after weeks of this and said, hey guys, I know we've never mentioned this before and we've been in D.C. the entire time, but this is actually just a really common phenomena with heat sinks.
Heat sinks.
Oh yeah. Just they walked out with the marks of bags having recently been taken off their heads and black eyes, just being like, yeah, it's nothing. It's just air balloons. I promise.
And
We just keep
everyone at
dropping
like
the heat
Andrews
sinks.
was like, that's not a thing.
What the fuck?
Jets don't have heat sinks. That's not how that works.
That's not
Made
gonna
of
happen.
metal.
We know what this looks like. It's not that.
Come on,
Just
just
a
walk away.
random
all right?
generic
Let's go
term.
ask some of these guys. Let's ask them, hey, when you see a phone book, do you cry?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of rubber hoses now?
Show me
Are
where
you
the
You have
phone
FOW
book hurt
LSD
you.
flashbacks when you crack your knuckles, you know?
Are you not able to enjoy the sweet taste of a Florida orange unless you remember being hit with a sack of them?
No, I'm telling you guys, it was a bunch of 7th graders. They were like, "All right, kids. So today, last week we wrote informative essays, and now we're going to write persuasive essays. You need to convince war veteran fighter jet pilots that what they saw were not aliens, but heat sinks."
To be
Yeah.
fair, I'm terrified of 7th graders.
Yeah, no,
Hell
that's-
yeah.
I'm
it
terrified
worked.
of heat sinks.
Those 5-paragraph essays are lethal.
Heat sinks are hot.
No,
though. I
not
mean,
7th grade. 7th graders. I'm
I mean-
sitting out on my porch reading, and I keep seeing like 13-year-olds going by on their bikes, and I'm like,
Yeah, they're talking
Yeah.
about you when they go past that.
yeah,
That's
they're
right.
they're. I
They're
feel like they don't
doing-
even
they're
have to
mocking.
look at me to bully me.
Yeah, they're making TikToks about you right now.
Yeah, you
They're
know
flossing.
it.
They're flossing as we speak.
They're doing some other kind of dance that hasn't even come to Twitter yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
that we don't
It's-
even know about.
Yeah.
Flossing
The-
is
the
up,
Fluber.
dental hygiene is down.
That's
It's not
right.
the floss anymore. It's the It's what's the evil hook thingy they use at the dentist?
Oh, the
evil
pick.
hook.
The
Oh,
yeah,
the-
yeah,
the water
the
pick?
evil hook dance.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
That's-
that's the
It looks like the
that's
Michael Jackson Thriller.
honestly,
Oh.
that's the one bit of healthcare that you guys have on us.
oh
Yeah,
teeth.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
teeth.
I do have
Well,
the
that's
teeth
because
model.
I mean, that's because British Dental Association is actually, like a secret undercover
It's a UFO. It's Grace.
government. Yeah,
It's all
Grace.
Grace.
Yes.
in the best Monty Python sketch ever.
Oh man, if to all, anyone to all if you're listeners, I should clarify to this. Even I am in Britain. I'm not just like someone who's
No, this is just our friend.
Well, I mean,
Just-
that's
He's
in
trying to do
line.
an accent. It's just not
Yeah,
working.
where is
I
your
don't know.
accent, huh?
I don't know if you watched any of our earlier material, but we bag on England a lot.
We didn't even notice that until I started listening to episodes, and I'm like, oh, this wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, no, this is literally. I'm literally from Canada. I've been living here for so long.
That's the
The
other
other
country
England.
that we've also
England
made a
light.
lot of fun of. So
Yes. Anyway, just to explain to anyone listening to this who why I sound the way I do, but keep talking as though I'm from or in England.
no,
Yep.
it's the magic of the internet. He
Exactly.
looks like he's in the room with the other three of us or four of us,
Right.
That's
but
right.
actually he's remote. He's calling. in.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, he's a gray. He forgot to count himself. He's
Yeah.
a gray. We've been
Yeah, Jack.
infiltrated by a
Uh-oh.
gray. Sorry, Jack.
So, you at this point though, the CIA is still very interested in UFOs. Anyone want to take a guess why?
They
To
fly.
put nukes on them and drop them on Moscow, or
Good guess.
To sell cocaine based on them somehow to use that
Oh,
to
you know,
fund
Coke just wasn't in
Contras.
vogue yet. It was anyone else? No, it's because they were interested in the potential for psychological warfare. Because they're
Oh,
like,
of
man,
course.
if the Russians are like pulling a quick one on us, we need to learn how to do this to other people. They're like, this is some cool ass shit.
But they were gonna ask
Exact
the
words.
aliens.
there's a gray gap. They got
They
to
were
fix the gray gap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the gray gap.
So wait, hang on. They were like, look, we need to keep researching aliens, because the Russians might research aliens more.
No, it was more like they thought if this phenomena is the Russians trying to incite mass hysteria, we need to figure out their ways so then we can incite mass hysteria.
Yeah, that was when the CIA and by extension MI6 just used to be so cool when they tried to be like kind of a little bit magic.
Oh, we're
Um,
gonna
yeah,
get there
yeah.
sometime.
Yeah.
We're actually going to talk about one of their literal wizardry experiments later.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna save my point for now for then and allow you to continue.
Yes, and they also noted that there were no sightings in the Soviet Union, but then again, a gray could land in the middle of Moscow and it wouldn't make their newspapers.
Yeah.
Which brings
Right.
us to the Robertson panel, which was a response to the DC incident, because then they're like, oh, well, we can't just sit here. People are freaking out about this. So all the scientists and all the acronyms got together for 3 days and decided at the end to make their bold peaceful decision as a group that nothing was happening.
Damn, that's tough.
Brave.
They deliberated for hours before putting that out.
They had so many whiskeys with each other before deciding that it was just a bunch of hogwash, right?
Like, reality check for a moment.
Yes. So that was the Robertson panel.
If, in several instances in a short period, unidentified radar blips happened around Washington, D.C. after World War II while we're in the Cold War, that would have to be investigated. That would be investigated now.
Yes.
If that just happened, it'd be like, what the fuck was that?
But you gotta get your panel together, and you don't know what's happening. So, you know what? You just tie a nice, neat bow on it.
Yeah. Everyone left the panel, walking a little funny. They jump at loud noises.
Yep.
They can't listen to jump blues anymore. And there's no aliens. They said there's no aliens.
So yeah, and that's so like when you're making rice, you just put it on the back burner. That's what the CIA did. They turned that heat down. They put the lid on it, and they went to watch some Netflix.
I mean, that just sort of implies that they never really believed that there were any aliens at all ever, right? Like, you can't...
I don't know,
like,
man.
Surely, like, if you truly believe that there are, people, greys or whatever...
People of space.
Yeah, POS. If you believe that their POSs are doing...
I don't think we should call them that, guys. That has another meaning. And
we love the aliens.
It also means point of sale.
Really pissed.
If you believe that point of sales are coming in and like doing bodies in space...
That's a slur. You can't say that.
into bodies in air or whatever, right? Like, you don't back burner that. That's going to be like a crucial national security priority.
But they didn't know what it was.
But yeah, well, the thing is that when the CIA says they're putting something on the back burner and it disappears from the media and from investigation, that means it's not being done anymore. That's simply how it works.
I mean,
they just stop. They stop. They never keep doing it.
On the one hand, yeah, of course, that's obviously true. But like, you have to remember that the CIA is a phenomenally stupid organization and always has been.
Wait, really?
Like,
what gave it away? Was it the intelligence in their name?
Like, this is a group that, like, I don't know if you'd ever know that whenever, like, all of CIA's operations in most Soviet states were all completely discovered and monitored to every extent the whole time, to the extent that in Cuba, the Castro was able to actually make a sitcom on Cuban TV based on like spying on like spy cameras of CIA agents, like doing dead drops and hanging out with their girlfriends and stuff.
That's fantastic. We need to cover
so
it.
Cool.
Yeah, like
that's ahead of its time too.
Yeah, like Castro literally, and then he published it. He was called "The Embarrassment of the Americans" or something like this, and it was published on.
Hey,
Cuban
no, that's
TV.
what we call Ohio.
Oh, got him.
Whoa! Let's back off of Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Ohio's not
Illinois.
that bad.
That's what we call it. Illinois.
Well, no, we shouldn't shit on Illinois. If we're gonna shit on some states, let's pick some good ones, like Rhode Island.
You're gonna discover JD's bone to pick with Virginia, a state that I occasionally forget exists.
My bone to pick with Virginia is like what? The fucking Civil War and slavery.
That was the whole. Anyway, speaking of the Civil War and slavery,
just because the South won, don't get mad. Okay, that's all I'm saying, man.
We need to reacquaint you with a history book, and this time I won't throw it at you.
I wouldn't have a history podcast if I weren't an expert. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're a Civil War expert. Yeah. So around this time
by a
too,
basketball.
The U-2 spy planes were a thing. And fun fact, despite being very secretive spy planes, for whatever reason they were bright silver initially.
Yeah, they didn't paint the skins of experimental planes back then.
So yeah, that's a waste of paint. And they weren't silver; they were aluminum. Which ended up being a really big problem.
They're reflective, JD.
They look silver.
Like most metal is when it's recently polished, which is
metal
something
nerd.
You do. Like
literally a metalhead.
Yeah, you are a literal metal.
Like, damn.
Do you have your smelting equipment with you? Do you have it on hand?
I don't smelt in my backyard because it's not easy to do.
Is it legal?
Well, he's not a Maoist. That's the thing.
Well, I also just don't have the money to own those facilities yet, but one day. No, like. Early U-2 spy planes were aluminum because that was light and strong.
No, they were silver because it's valuable, JD.
No, they weren't fucking silver.
All shiny things are silver, JD.
Oh my god, I swear to God.
This is simply how it works, okay?
My microphone is silver.
When they started flying the U-2 planes really fast, the aluminum would melt.
Oh, well, that's no good.
Government magic.
Yeah. So they had to, that's why titanium was researched.
That's why they had to use silver.
Because it's like, oh fucking shit, aluminum doesn't work. We have to find something else that won't melt when we fly supersonic.
Well, no, it was a welfare program basically for the Silversmiths Guild. The guilds get these government contracts. It's very corrupt. You should see the shoemakers. My God.
The teamsters.
We're gonna be talking about material science extensively later in this podcast. And
we are.
We're not starting off great.
You know what? We're getting warmed up. You know, if they bring up buildings, then I can flex, and me and JD can go off on some buildings.
I was checking into the title of this series about the CIA released by Cuba. It's called La Guerra de CIA contra Cuba, and it's an 11-part miniseries released by Fidel Castro in 1987.
Let's have a watch party.
Yeah, we should do a live stream.
That's a live stream.
That'd be pretty great.
That would be great. So the point with the U2s being basically that some people in the U2 program assumed, someone said, like, yeah, probably about half of the UFOs that are seen in the U.S. now are star planes.
Yeah, because they reflected the sun, so people saw these like chariots of fire.
They're creepy looking.
Like 70,000 feet. And so, my God, what's that? Well,
they look nothing like what people expected planes to look like.
And Riley, this gets into some stuff you were talking about earlier, that this one guy from the CIA, how did I put down? Yeah, DeWelt Walker, which that's not really a name.
That's such a CIA name.
That is
DeWelt.
That's a total. That's the name of someone who's cummed into a coffin for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Just like Jayad. Anyway, so he would go to the doors of ufologists dressed as an Air Force man. He would just have on a fake Air Force outfit, and he would give them a bunch of misinformation. You know, like, I'm just a kind, hard-working Air Force man, and all these things that other people say they've seen is wrong. I've never seen them. I'm not in the CIA.
So let's
if he tried to do that like a few years later, he would have been the subject of so many stolen valor videos. As people were like, "Oh, those pants and that jacket were issued at the different times. His medals were on upside down."
Well, I mean, if he did this after Top Gun came out, he would have showed up wearing like no shirt and aviators.
Yeah. Holding his volleyball.
That's been the uniform since '74.
Yeah.
No, his medals were all wrong because he just had like a DC parking ticket here.
Nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was funny. It's also
military issue O'Neill board shorts.
And the ufologist
part of
did not.
Flight school involves learning how to sing "You've Lost That Loving Feeling."
Right.
Yeah, volleyball is. I mean, it's not one of the emphases anymore. It's sort of like sword fighting in the army. They learn it. It's
symbolic.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not
volleyball.
Symbolic. The washboard abs on Tom Cruise.
Right.
I think they faked those, didn't they?
Yeah, his abs are actually standing on a box in all of those shots.
Right.
Yeah, they
got an apple
like
box for each individual ab.
All right, we're checking the box of we made fun of Tom Cruise again. So.
Okay, Tom Cruise.
The same jokes return. But to try to walk through the experience. You're a ufologist, and a clean-cut Mormon shows up to your door, wearing a pressed, obviously fake military uniform. And curtly says to you, "Hello, citizen. I am an Air Force officer, here to tell you that UFOs are not real. May we speak? I have some documents for you." Like holds up a briefcase or something.
I brought snacks, and he takes out like a bag of carrots.
Well, like exits are south, north. There is a crowbar and a couch.
So, yeah, and it's funny because the ufologists they didn't buy this at all. They knew this was fake, and one of them wrote an angry letter to Alan Dulles that I'd love to read.
Ooh.
If I could find that.
I bet Alan Dulles had that guy skinned alive.
God, that's what Alan Dulles' nice chair was made out of.
Oh, he's in the airport. He's permanently like built into the airport now.
That's why it's so haunted.
They threw the carcasses into the cement.
Yeah, whenever you die on the job, they just put you into the Dulles Airport, which looks like a Soviet bus station.
Wait, so is the Dulles Airport like Monster House now? So like the Dulles Airport is controlled by those bodies? Like,
I wanted to look like an airfoil and be built by the bodies of my enemies.
Oh God. It's a cursed building.
John.
Sorry, if I can ask you, this is some like basic like remedial American knowledge. Isn't there an American airport that's supposed to be like built out of like bodies and is satanic?
Yes, that would be Denver.
Got you. Okay,
it does look pretty satanic. I mean, the red eyes on the bowl. That's pretty...
Okay. No, you know what's scary about that cult? It's a cult. The scary thing about it is that the artist the reason why they can't get rid of it is that the sculptor died because when they were putting the head up, it fell on him and killed him. And then they were like, well, now we got to fucking finish it. And now we're not going to take it down ever.
Did they like entomb him inside of the cult? Like the bronze bull.
Entombing implies that there was solids left based on the size of that head. He was probably mostly squished liquid at that point.
Cool.
So some of the liquid probably made it is still in the head, right?
Yeah. So the Illuminati has run out of the basement of Denver International.
Yeah, obviously.
Simply fact.
Legalize it.
They're doing renovations. They're doing renovations now, and they have so many things just memeing the shit out of all the conspiracy theories about Denver. It's about
I didn't know they were remodeling.
Yeah, well, I was there recently, but it's
like all of these intentionally cultish art pieces with like triangles and eyes and stuff on them. It's great.
No, they on the gates that wall off the places that they're.
You're so
they
passionate about
posters.
this, JD.
It's fucking hilarious. They just have posters. They're just like, oh, what are we doing? The Illuminati is renovating their secret base. Like,
yeah, I don't
like,
know. If you were the Illuminati, how would you like disguise all of your secret base activities? You'd be like, haha, wouldn't we be the Illuminati? That'd be kind of epic. Anyway, have a fucking Baconator or whatever.
Sure, that's entertaining, but I think what's more entertaining is that that's not true. There is no Illuminati stuff there. Well, and the guy who's just like, wouldn't it be fucking funny if we just, instead of saying, excuse our dust, we just turned up the memes hard. And just said, let's just sear into this.
Because one of the original pre-QAnon things was that people would go to Denver with like shovels and try and like dig in the concourses and stuff to find the children.
Can you imagine getting arrested because you were just full of edibles trying to dig up the Denver airport?
No comment.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that was just your winter break.
I think that's what like the modern CIA would do. They would come up with that kind of an idea. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna have some kind of, I don't know, like fingernail pulling factory underneath the Denver airport, where we're gonna bring all the hosts of the podcasts we don't like, that aren't, of course, the ones we fund, who are all the same people, and then we're gonna say something like, oh, it's Black Ops over here, or whatever, because like Marvel movies and fucking Chuck.
Well,
Wendig
the road to hell is paved
with
human fingernails.
I never realized that have, like, human fingernails is a lucrative industry, but I guess it is.
Yeah, no, you can make good money off of that.
Yeah. I'm just tired of big fingernail,
Big fingernail is just taking over the fingernail industry.
It's a shame.
And they're under Denver. I mean, who knew?
Yeah, it's classic Denver in my opinion.
Denver.
I want to start a drop shipping company, but for fingernails and not shirts. You could print stuff on them. It'd be pretty cool.
You get like a monthly subscription to it.
Yeah.
All of our fingernails are naturally sourced.
Right.
Yes.
And
You're finally making your
fingernails.
We cut out the middleman and pass all the savings on to you. That way, every month you can get a artisanal, organic, non-GMO fingernail sent to your door.
You'd have a button just says "Get Fingered," and every time you press the new.
I think that's a different thing. I think you should talk to Spencer Gifts about that.
Okay, well, they probably already have this.
They probably have it in like 4 different colors.
So speaking of getting fingered,
it's great. We love it. We're going crazy over here. It's awesome.
So, speaking of getting fingered by information, I'm steering the ship back to UFOs.
You're banking. You're drifting the ferry back.
I'm drifting the Staten Island ferry back to the halal carts that are obviously not paying taxes.
This is a good segue.
Yes, I'm steering that ferry.
She's steering that segue. She's really doing it.
We're coming back.
Shut up.
You love a segue that's its own.
So that's how we got the O'Brien Committee and the Condon Committee, which were basically the same, more of the same, just people and acronyms to get together and just come to the conclusion that everything's completely explainable and UFOs aren't real. And this leads me to sort of the end of the 20th century UFOs. And this is from a release from the CIA. It gets super bitter by the end because it's 70s and 80s. The UFO issue refuses to die. Quote, like the JFK assassination conspiracy theories, the UFO issue will probably not go away soon, no matter what the agency does or says. The belief that we are not alone in the universe is too emotionally appealing, and the distrust of the government is too pervasive to make the issue amenable to traditional scientific studies of rational explanation and evidence.
That sounds like something that was written by a 15-year-old atheist.
Yes,
right.
who I assume is who Gerald Haynes is. This was probably a Reddit post that the CIA just ripped.
The CIA basically is just a subreddit when you think about it.
Oh.
I won't explain any more, but that's
what
pretty
would the
obvious.
upvotes and downvotes be? I guess the upvotes would be cocaine.
Yeah, fingernails, of course.
Yeah, an upvote's a fingernail, a downvote is a second wire.
This is a second wire.
No. The wire that haunts us.
Oh boy.
Haunts my
dreams.
See,
but that just pisses me off because it's like, oh, the belief that we're not alone in the universe. Statistical reality. It's a statistical reality that we aren't alone.
Yeah, the Greys are in Denver.
No, not even that. I don't know if aliens have come here, but there's definitely life outside of Earth.
Aliens are real, and I fucked one. It's true.
Yeah, that's right. So you never fucked an alien? Were you a virgin?
Losers.
Isn't it statistically provable, like if you make just sort of two sort of mutually exclusive but completely exhaustive assumptions in two different directions, i.e. that it's statistically provable that we're alone in the universe because the universe is because we would have been contacted by now, or it's statistically provable that we're not alone in the universe because the universe is very big and it's almost inevitable that there's another life-supporting planet.
Right?
Well, isn't that just sort of stateable both ways?
Yeah, more or less. That's the debate.
And which ones does the CIA want you to know?
I don't know though, because when you look at the number
if I know the CIA,
the number of
the
planets,
CIA funding conflicts, both sides of the CIA won, and they both don't know that they're funding both sides of each debate.
I mean,
that would be classic.
A big issue with that argument, though, is that the assumption that if we weren't alone in the universe, we would have been contacted already that's just a fallacy. That's a false assumption.
You tell him, JD.
No, it is. We people clearly would come and talk to us. That's just fucking ego. Have you spoken with most of the humans on this planet? I haven't, but a lot of the ones I've interacted with has made me say, I'd rather not.
Because they don't even smelt iron.
My opinion on extraterrestrial life is basically just the same as Peter Watts's from the book Blind Sight, which is the book I always evangelize everyone read at every opportunity. He's a marine biologist who tried to write what an actual alien would look like on the basis of having studied the most alien kinds of life that exist on Earth.
Oh hell yeah!
That's pretty
like
cool.
The stuff that lives in vents.
Yeah, like shit that lives in vents and that like is clearly alive but isn't alive by any of our standard definitions of being alive.
Or super intelligent.
People
like,
from New Jersey.
Yeah, like those like people from Ironsides, New Jersey. Yeah, so he has written a first contact book where it's not where the contact between human and alien is like, is this thing really meaningfully alive? Is sort of the question that you have to keep asking throughout the entire book. It's great and everyone should read it.
Blind Side.
Check that out.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Like, you look at the number of star systems in the Milky Way galaxy that have planets in the habitable zone, and it's like 400 billion star systems, each with them having between 1 to 3 exoplanets that we think could sustain life.
Yeah, to sustain our kind of life.
Yeah,
but,
and I think our kind of life isn't honestly that hard to make.
Yeah.
But really is.
Hell, it's not even our kind of life. It's just liquid water is possible on that planet.
Just,
that's what it is.
Couldn't it be non-carbon based?
A couple other stuff. Well, that's
if you've watched Star Trek, you'll know that it's possible for there to be a robot planet.
That's true.
What I kind of
I'm
that's
banking
right.
on this.
But what I kind of like about the Peter Watts book is that he basically posits an alien race for whom radiation is basically the same as water, and again, who aren't meaningfully alive in any real sense, but are clearly sort of operating under some kind. Just read Blind Sight. That's all I'm gonna say.
Cool.
Those were the first members of the CIA. They just live off of radiation. They're incomprehensible. They're Lovecraftian horrors.
They live in these tanks like the navigators from Dune.
That's exactly
They
it.
dispense regime change. They just tell you how to do regime change. They have this sight that it's not like seeing. They can see the future.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
If you lick one, you lose your ability to distinguish truth from reality from falsehood.
Mm-hmm.
They need the spice, but the spice is just crude oil.
And
exactly
cocaine.
It.
Yeah.
So Jack, it's your turn.
Oh yes. We're not quite out of the 20th century yet because there's the issue of the Mirage Man. There's a documentary by the same name. Pretty good.
Sounds like a 60s band.
Yeah, really.
They're like a doo-wop or like some sort of Motown group.
Yeah, Riley mentioned this, but it was an actual program by the Air Force. I think Special Investigative Command. They had an agent. It's like the Air Force security group. Every American military branch has an intelligence agency. It's cool.
And they're never competing with each other at all.
No, never. So this guy, like, there was this ufologist who was living outside of Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. And he was witnessing, I think it was flights of the SR-71 Blackbird. And he was getting onto it. He thought it was a UFO being kept at the base. And he was going to draw some press. And it was quite possible that the Soviets or the Chinese were going to find out about this. And because they weren't schizophrenic, they would say, oh, it's a experimental plane. And then they would send someone to take pictures of it. And I guess that would be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had this agent, Richard Doty, go to this guy and hand off fake documents and pretend that he was leaking stuff. So he literally like snuck to the guy's house, met with him, and gave him like a briefcase full of fake documents that are like the basis of the modern UFO culture. These circulated for like 20 years. Cool. Yeah, and this was an ongoing program. It was called the Mirage Man. He wasn't the only guy. This Benowitz guy wasn't the only one it got done to.
Because Benowitz went absolutely insane at some point, right? Just because of this?
Yeah, he was already a little unbalanced. He believed that the UFOs at the air base were communicating with him in his brain.
So they bullied a mentally ill man?
So they gave him fake documents that made him think that he had good evidence of UFOs. He went public with them. People thought he was insane. And he ended up committing himself to an asylum. And he totally lost his fucking mind.
As one does when you go to an asylum.
Yeah, well, no, it's causative. Yeah. And it's,
if anything, that's the sort of sanest thing he's done so far.
Yeah, you know what?
I mean, hey.
Everyone thought he was crazy. And in that moment, we all became successful psychiatrists.
Yeah, we just diagnosed the guy.
Collective diagnosis.
We've merged our powers together, and we've declared this guy somewhat unstable. This program was highly illegal, and he called his senators and congressmen multiple times, and both senators actually came to the airbase and they investigated. And they asked the Air Force...
Wait, was there like a Jonestown? Like they showed up in their planes and then were just assaulted?
No, that would be pretty cool though. No, they investigated. The Air Force lied to them and said, no, we're not fucking with this crazy guy. No, we're not. He's lying. And that's part of the reason why he went schizo.
What else would they say? Like, you ask, it's like, hey, Air Force, are you bullying this man in New Mexico? And they're just going to be like, you got me. You got me. What's a little fun between friends, huh?
It's just a prank, bro. Why are you mad, bro? It's just a prank. It's a social experiment. So the Mirage Man thing went on for a number of years. Poor old what's-his-name committed himself to an insane asylum. The Air Force never faced any kind of sanctions for this because they're the Air Force and no one cares. They are desk jockeys who don't do anything, and so it's not worth punishing
Jack,
them.
it's the Chair Force.
Yeah, the Chair Force.
That's right.
Yeah, Air Force intelligence. It's that's the hoax, folks.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of ops to fuck with people and spread fake information about UFOs, we get to 2017. The UFO community had died back a little bit, but in 2017, these videos get released of U.S. Navy F-18 fighters flying off of aircraft carriers on exercises, tracking these like pill-shaped, incredibly fast-moving objects with their thermal cameras, and the pilots are just like, "Bro, what the fuck is that?"
Speedy Tic Tac.
Yeah, they're like these little speedy Tic Tacs.
Yeah, minions.
You just fling them. Oh.
Duh.
Oh my god.
Where do you think minions come from? They didn't evolve from life on Earth.
They're hail. They're large hail.
No, it's like Jack. It's like Jack was saying. A lot of planets are there in different kinds of habitable zones, right? And they might not have the same kind of natural pressures that evolve life on Earth. they might just evolve like a yellow cylinder who wears like a single glass.
Yeah, an earplug.
I thought that this was covered in the Minions movie. They were like some offshoot of humanity that was
Didn't it imply that the only
ages.
reason they didn't work for Hitler is because they were in Antarctica very conveniently in the 40s?
Had to work very hard for that to happen.
Like
I was hoping they wouldn't cheap out.
They just sort of a human group went somewhere before the Younger Dryas, and just that was them. And they came back.
I mean, look, the Minions had their own documentary, so I think we know a lot about them at this
point. Like they have that's covered in the movie. They're like it's like hobbits in Lord of the Rings. They're an offshoot of people.
Yeah.
Did they face evolutionary pressures that caused them to say stuff like, if you that's the reason we're gonna have a faith. And they salute the flag, stuff like that. So I love Minion death cults, so I think about Minions all the time.
They haunt your dreams.
Minion psyop.
That's right.
Oh my god, I hate those little things. They're so fucking creepy. They have hair, but they have like 3 or 4 of them, like Homer Simpson. It's really gross. I don't
just
like
a fetus version of Homer Simpson.
Yeah, and they're Homer, and they have yellow and they have round eyes like Homer Simpson.
Yeah,
and they delight people who watch them like Homer Simpson. They have blue pants like Homer Simpson. Some of them have white shirts like Homer Simpson.
They strangle their sons like Homer Simpson.
You can't name a difference. Minions and Homer Simpson, it's the same thing. Anyway,
that's an interesting fan theory.
On.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So these Tic Tacs are flying around.
Oh, the wacky Tic Tacs are flying around, talking about drinking wine at 4 p.m. and being a substitute teacher.
That's right.
And we're going to post some links to the videos. They're pretty cool. And so the reason that you've been hearing about these videos, and it's like the same 3 videos for 3 years, is there were a bunch of like government hearings and committees on these videos because they went public and a bunch of senators were like, oh shit, UFOs.
Yeah, all the New Mexico senators suddenly have some fast talking to do.
That's pork barrel spending. That's what that is right there. It's just like they're like, oh, UFOs. Oh shit, I need to build a $1 billion headlight fluid factory to deal with them.
We need to have a bill to have some hearings, and when we pass the bill, it's going to have a rider on it that puts a fucking federally funded amusement park in my backyard, and it's going to create 8,000 jobs for a week.
That's right.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the Navy has come out and said that these videos are real and that UFOs exist. So we're on step 5 of the government saying whether they're real or not.
Yeah, we started out at, we think they're real, we're scared of them.
That's where we are right now. They're like, oh, we don't know. Chinese.
So we just went full circle pretty much.
It's always China.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're back to where we were in 1945. So great work, guys.
Great.
Use of time.
We're gonna get some
bring back
denials
swing
soon.
Music.
Yeah, where's Elvis when you need him?
Yeah, where's our era of prosperity? I mean, if we're getting UFOs and a new Cold War.
See, but this is the same issue of like there is a difference between an unidentified flying object and alien spacecraft.
Incorrect. They're not UFOs. They're UAPs. They're unidentified aerial phenomena.
That's right. The acronym changed.
Different.
It's pronounced Yoop.
Wop.
Wop. It's a wop.
Wop, bop, loop, bop, beep, bop, bam.
It's fun. They've gone from being called ufologists to doo-wop groups. Keep up with the language.
It's 2020, okay? Use the correct pronouns.
A barbershop quartet, but they sing about how the CIA is covering up the graves.
Barbershop quartet.
That's just the plot of The Usual Suspects.
So didn't the Pentagon recently confirm all this?
Yeah, in April, like a month ago.
Our friends in the Pentagram.
Our good friends and sponsors at the Pentagon confirmed that UFOs are real.
Yeah, there are top listeners.
They're called UAPs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of listens in Northern Virginia. It's really suspicious.
That's right. Yeah, it's interesting that they did that just when a lot of other things were happening. So it's like, so that I mostly think they did it. I mostly think they did it so that like blue tick staff writers on Twitter could be like, oh, now you're telling me UFOs are real. So I think the conspiracy is actually people with staff writer in their bio on Twitter who want to have a viral post, who are now creating the conditions for themselves to be able to say that some other unbelievable thing is happening now in the era of unbelievable things happening.
Yeah, I mean, now we're just going to get a bunch of personality tests about what kind of UAP you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'm very much a classic flying saucer. Love the vintage vibes.
I'm definitely a temperature inversion.
No, I mean, this isn't a UAP.
You're a flying Tic Tac, Riley.
I was gonna say I'm a Space Marine drop pod, but no, you're right. I'm a flying Tic Tac.
I think JD is the fingernail.
We'd call it Steel Rain.
Steel Rain.
But this isn't even the crazy part. This is setup. So the setup is that the government is now once more saying that UFOs are real and that they're looking into it. So don't worry. The reason these videos came out is because a guy called Luis Elizondo released them publicly in 2017. And he works for a company called the To the Stars Academy.
Which sounds like a charter school in DC, but it is not that.
Yeah, it sounds like the opposite of a segregation academy, but it's not. It's actually a scientific and cultural corporation. And the board members are very interesting. Elizondo is one. He claims to have been on the Pentagon's, let me get this up here, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. He claims to have led that, which was their like UFO study group.
Which the Pentagon denies.
Which they denied existed. He says he was on that, but also a DoD spokesman said that Mr. Elizondo had no responsibilities with regard to the AITIP program while he worked in the Office of Under Secretary of Defense.
Maybe he was just bad at it. He was just so irresponsible.
These people speak and run on sentences.
I mean, what I really like about this is that there are two different kinds of inveterate liars who, like, one of whom has to be lying and the other of whom has to be telling the truth. Like the U.S. national security infrastructure just basically exists just to sit on facts. We know this is relatively uncontroversial, but also guys who claim to have been involved in high-end government programs publicly also basically always liars. Nobody in this is a habitual truth teller.
Yeah. We're dealing with the two types of liar, the grifter and the fed. The two genders of lying.
This isn't even a grifter so much as it just seems like someone who can't stop lying, like who, when introduced to you as a party, will say, like the kind of person who, when they were 10, would say that their dad had a Ferrari that was always in the shop. This is the and they grow
it's
up
every
to be the
party
person.
in Northern Virginia where everyone's like, oh, my security clearance it's not that high, it's a level. But...
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. Exactly, where everyone's Q.
My dad's I can get you banned.
These are the guys that have figured out that you can say you were on some program that there are records of existing, and they'll say, no, he wasn't, but, like, okay, well, then who is? Well, we're not going to fucking tell you that.
Exactly. So
that would be stupid. Well, how do we know then?
But then again, anytime any records have come out about any of these programs, a lot of people who were on it were denied to have been on it. So there's literally no way to know.
Yeah. And the only people who were ever in charge of these things are people who you would never suspect because they're meant to be, secret. They're sneaky people.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, these are the people who say this shit are the ones who have figured out, like, oh, I can just say that, and they'll deny it, and that does not affect whether or not people will believe it.
It's not just a river.
Because they'll deny everyone because they need to.
Yeah. And it's interesting, this To the Stars Academy has a board of entirely people like Luis Elizondo. Very, very interesting cast of characters. I just want to point out, we are making conjectures here. We are not accusing anyone of doing anything.
Oh, so now we're no longer in the libel zone.
So we've left the libel zone because these people could actually sue us. So blah, 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 disclaimer, so on and so forth. Don't even try it. I don't have any money for you to take. It's not worth your time.
Yeah, so, I have $20 in quarters. And a ring that's maybe worth $50.
We're reading their website and then talking about what's on the website.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I have a lunchbox down here with a second beer in it, and that's basically my movable wealth.
This is their website and Wikipedia. That is this conversation.
Yeah, it's classically actionable stuff is when you read something that you have written.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in Britain, it sort of is, but
and jokes.
Your guys' libel laws are insane, but
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, please tell me what's on this website.
Well, To the Stars Academy was founded in 2017 by a private equity guy, the co-founder of Vivaris Capital, J. Christopher Miser. So already we're off to a rather
evil name.
Man, nominative determinism just fucking working in overtime here.
Damn.
Yeah. Dr. Hal Puthoff, he was a research physicist for the Department of Defense. He helped to invent tunable lasers in the 60s. That's a pretty cool scientific achievement. Very well qualified man.
He's still alive.
He was also an OT7 Scientologist. He had no thetans. His thetans were all gone. All of the thetans out of him.
Dethetanized.
Right. Who else would you trust to talk about the existence of aliens than someone whose body was not inhabited by alien spirits? It just seems like good sense.
Yeah. This dude fought the aliens and he won. So he's
Yeah, there's no conflict of interests.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, it was an economic victory, but still.
Hey, it's always a cultural victory, all right?
But the thing is, he actually quit. He quit Scientology, which is impressive to do.
That high.
This is That's not even the craziest shit he ever did. This guy was one of the directors of fucking Project Stargate.
What?
Ooh.
And he was a Scientologist?
This guy was a Scientologist. He directed Project
that explains
Stargate.
Stargate. Oh my god. Tell Stargate. Tell our.
There will be a separate episode on Stargate.
But give like a 30-second. Give us your elevator
Isn't
pitch.
this the Men Who Stare at Goats?
Yes.
It's the Men Who Stare at Goats has a character based on him. He did remote viewing experiments in which he tried to get people to like envision the inside of the Kremlin to see what Brezhnev was up to. He claimed that these were a success.
It's the NatSec secret.
It really is. It was like Protestant magic or something.
That's right.
And then he also he performed experiments on Uri Geller, the spoon bending guy. And he also said that Uri Geller could really bend spoons.
I think
Well,
Uri
I can't
Geller.
Proven.
Yeah, I can.
Uri Geller. Uri Geller
spoons.
tried to do a spell on Jeremy Corbyn before the 2017 election.
Did it work?
A little bit, I guess, and then maybe it had a delayed effect in 2019 election. Who can say? I'm pretty sure that's what he tried. He tried to do something along those lines.
I'd like to cast anti-Semitism allegations as a level 3 spell.
All right, is that a wisdom save?
Is that a wisdom save?
That's a charisma
Roll
save.
for it.
Yeah, that's a charisma save.
So wait, who else is on this board?
Oh, it's great that you asked. Jim Simivan, who was a senior intelligence.
That's a fake name. That's someone who was just like, "What's your name?" They're like, it's Jim Simivan.
He saw 2 vehicles on the road and was like, Simivan, yes.
Yeah. Jim Simivan is someone who's inventing a fake name and trailing off. I will not be convinced otherwise.
No, well, the thing is, he was actually a fucking CIA officer.
Of course he was.
And he was in the Directorate of Operations, which is the one that actually goes overseas and does stuff. The bad ones. Yes. So we have connections to DIA wizardry, the CIA, private equity,
and
Scientology.
the real thing that's going to cinch it all.
And the last guy, actually the main founder and the funder, who put several $1 million into this, Tom DeLonge, the guitarist of Blink-182.
Oh, so the rest of those guys are just taking Tom DeLonge's money.
And you've cracked the mystery. Yes, they are taking his fucking money. They are taking this guy for a ride. It's fantastic.
So
he is the sugar daddy of several
CEO,
old government men.
This is what I always say. Mark Fisher was completely right when he said we are living in capital's dream and capital is the dreamer. In this case, all of these guys are being paid a probably quite generous sum of money to live in Tom DeLonge's dream and allow him to believe that he is a serious alien hunter just because he has capital.
Yes, he has accumulated enough that he can just pay people to lie to him. That, like, oh yeah, we found a saucer the other day.
To live in his reality.
I guess money can buy happiness.
It can. Mm-hmm. This guy's life is great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, he believes he's the CEO of a successful alien hunting firm.
It's a tech company too.
Yeah.
The way you say successful alien hunting firm, I'm just imagining they have business cards and like billboards on the side of the road where it's like, you need an alien hunter. You have an alien hunter.
They actually do have a PR brand because it's not.
They're taking Tom DeLonge for a ride too. Everyone involved in this thing is just like, they've just found a way to get like a early career professional salary to, I don't know, play fucking Minecraft or whatever.
God, we should get it.
We're not even into the worst of it yet. Like, it gets more.
Hit me.
All right.
What's the worst of it?
So the other board members are this Elizondo guy who did something for the government related to intelligence. Carrie DeLong, who is Tom DeLong's wife, who does app things for them apparently. Mm-hmm. And then a guy named
if I want to have an alien sighting app, of course.
They have an alien sighting app. They have an app where you can input alien sightings, and they have a database to do big data manipulation on this to try and process the information. So it's really a tech company. Then they have Project Atom, the acquisition and data analysis of materials. They reached for that one.
It's really lucky that they came up with that acronym that just completely matched something that was, very understandable and easily pronounceable.
And
yeah, it's crazy.
I love a good backronym.
Man, Tom DeLonge really got his millions worth.
Thank you, Pop Punk.
Well, he's not the only one paying for this, but this is a partnership with the Army, but also with Earth Tech International. I did some digging. I actually did research for this one. Earth Tech is owned by Hal Puthoff, one of the board members of the company.
Oh, so it's a money laundering operation.
Well, it's not just that. You know who else is on the board?
Who else?
The CFO and the COO are his kids. Real nephew shit.
So it's a nepotistic money laundering.
We're in the nephew zone.
There's no conflict
We're in the
of
nephew
interest
zone,
here.
folks. We're here.
The nephew zone.
Took us an hour and a half, but we made it.
Fantastic. I
Always
was wondering when we were going to talk about some nephew shit.
We're off some nephew shit, people.
This podcast doesn't run without nephews.
So
right.
It's money laundering, but also the CIA is...
Let's not go accusing people of felonies. But
oh, yes, I would never accuse anyone of a felony on a podcast.
Especially if they're doing it.
Yeah.
Please don't felony me.
JD can't go on his rant about information or about material science because, holy shit, there's a bunch of sci-fi gobbledygook on their website about what their scientific
That could be a mini
specialties are.
episode. I'd watch it.
SETI
they're
xenoarchaeology,
hacking the
quantum field theory, experimental quantum optics. That's
Super
just 3 of
speed,
them.
Jack. It's like when people were talking about Hyperloop. How fast is it? Super speed fast.
Super duper. We're going to create a railroad, but underground and powered by air.
Mm-hmm.
Reinvent the train,
right.
man.
Yeah, and this is not just money laundering with DeLong's money. They got the Army to give them. Yeah, of course, hypothetical. In the game, money laundering. The Army paid them $750,000 in October 2019 to do some materials analysis on what they claim are metamaterials. I'll be goddamned if I know what a metamaterial is. I've only seen the normal kind.
It's element 113.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're...
and not just that, but
You're
also...
doing a good job, JD.
Thank you, JD. His restraint is admirable.
You are all idiots.
The whiskey is helping. The whiskey is helping a lot.
Everyone. Everyone.
Take another beer. It'll be okay.
Yeah. They're also doing beamed energy propulsion research on $750,000. The Army's paying them to fuck off with their stupid fake UFO.
Very, very slowly.
Yeah,
take some xenon plus 2 ions and get the fuck out of here in the next 40 years.
That is the perfect government procurement fuck off, which is
It
here's
really
a large enough amount of money to keep you busy,
Have
but not a
fun.
large enough amount of money to do anything.
Yes, and it's not a contract to buy anything from them. It's a collaboration agreement. So they get to go to the Army's labs and use this money to, pay for lab services from the Army and so on.
So once again, Tom DeLonge and his friends get to play scientist.
They get to have so much fun.
Oh, they get to dress up in the little lab coats and everything and try on
and-
some fun goggles.
So wait, what we're saying, if we're going to be materialist here, the chain of events happened such that Tom DeLonge's wealth has meant that the U.S. Army, the most powerful, bloody, and murderous imperial war machine the world has ever known,
I didn't say it.
is basically giving him a kind of permanent lifetime Make-A-Wish situation.
I want to go to Disneyland, but Disneyland is a lab in Los Alamos.
Well,
So
see,
when
here's
you
what's crazy though
when you're
about
California.
about all this. Here's what's crazy. In a 2018 financial statement filed with the SEC, the company reported that it has, quote, incurred losses from operations and has accumulated a deficit of 37,432,000 as of June 30th, 2018. These factors raise doubt at the company's ability to continue as a going concern.
No. I was gonna say I wanted to see the income statement of this company, but I'm glad you looked into it already.
It's on Tom DeLonge's Wikipedia page. If you go to conspiracy theories and aliens,
I'm sure some of these things are public information.
Yeah, you followed all the public school librarians' directions there, Jack.
And then apparently also the person that he's married to, who's on the board, he apparently filed for divorce in 2019.
So she's gonna fleece the U.S. Army.
Who fucking knows if half of his nothing?
Who knows if that's fucking true? It's Wikipedia, but like.
I can't believe she's going to get half of his incredibly valuable alien hunting tech company that seems to just be an excuse to hang out with his friends in a U.S. Army base.
Yeah, they bought. I think that what they did is they bought this collection of fake UFO parts called Art's Parts. It's been floating around, being bought by various people for 30 years. JD, it was bought up by this radio host called Art Bell.
Oh, Coast to Coast AM, right?
Coast to Coast AM guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Who
God, it all comes back to Coast to Coast.
And was also a Nazi. So, the army is paying them to test Art's parts, and this guy is bankrupting himself by publishing books and paying a bunch of people and their kids to do fake science.
Guys, let's salute
It's government magic.
Let's salute our hero.
But here's the thing, though.
Straighten that back.
2 years ago, they had a deficit of $37.5 million.
Yeah, it's a pass-through. He's spending his own money.
And they're still
He gives them 0% interest loans. That's how the company started.
Okay. Right,
so everyone's taking this guy for a ride.
In the report sent to the SEC, they said that this is a concern if we can keep operating.
Who's not playing him? That would be like an easier list to go on.
Ah, man. So good. This is what I like to call government magic.
The
U.S. government warps the fabric of reality around it to create the stupidest possible outcomes from any given proposition.
That's right. That's procurement, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I can just feel the magic that Disney promised us. It's not the magic I anticipated, but it's magic all the less.
It's really more like chaos magic, but corporate.
There's probably an app for that.
So, Riley, do you have any final thoughts on this?
Yeah. I'd quite like to get a job as Tom DeLonge's Imagineer. It seems like probably one of the easiest things you can do in the entire world. But it also seems like every single person involved at every stage of this entire story is just a constant and inveterate liar type of person. And so
it could all be bullshit. So
because every single person has a trustworthiness, as far as I'm concerned, of 0, I literally have no idea what the truth could possibly be.
Like the stuff I got from the CIA website, that could all just be fake.
Yeah, I get
the CIA website not telling the truth. No.
Yeah, I know. I'd be shocked.
Hey, what if the Contras were the bad guys? Anyway, I think that what To the Stars exists to do, just to wrap this up, is to muddy the waters, to release this stuff, a mixture of truth and falsehood, and to fuck with people and also enrich ex-CIA guys. I mean, you have that many spooks working on there, they don't retire, they work forever. So
that's right. Yeah, and that's the American dream, is to make your career fucking pulling fingernails from people who tried to unionize a fruit company in the 1970s and then spending your latter years collecting a $10,000 a month paycheck from some sort of double-digit IQ pop punk guy who's pretty convinced that he saw a gray once. It's cool.
Oh, it really is. Man, I can't believe I'm still podcasting. I'm not getting here by doing that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you gotta unionize pop punk.
That's right. That's what I've learned from this entire episode. Unionize pop punk, because the massive concentration of wealth in the top tiers of pop punk has led to
ridiculous.
Really economically irrational decisions.
We need
Let's have a whinier version of Solidarity Forever with some guitars.
Solidarity forever.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? It's like Woody Guthrie's great-great-grandson who has
right now.
I don't know either.
Well, thank you so much, Riley, for coming on.
It's been fun.
It's been really great.
I've had a very fun time talking to you guys today. I learned quite a bit. I laughed. I cried. I sang a regrettable pop punk song.
Yeah, we're clipping it.
It had everything.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you so much. He's the co-host of Trash Future,
which you should listen to.
Yeah, it's a pretty good podcast. I would recommend it.
That's right. That's right. Pretty good out of pretty good.
And what book should we read?
You should all read Blind Sight by Peter Watts. Everyone should read Blind Sight by Peter Watts.
You heard it.
Read Blind Sight by Peter Watts.
You have a reading assignment now.
That's right. But yeah, no, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you very much, guys. I had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, thank you, Riley.
Thanks for coming on.
Have a nice night.
Yeah.
Peace out.
See you later, everybody.
There are things we know, but there are also the ones we don't know.
I welcome this kind of examination.
The power of the presidency doesn't rest here.
Covert operation. Grave danger to the civilized world.
You deserve the truth.